They told you starting over was failure, didn't they? Told you that if you had to wipe the slate clean, if you had to walk away from everything you built, everything you suffered for, then you lost. But let me ask you something, who decided that? Who wrote that rule? Was it you, or was it them? The ones who want you chained to the wreckage, drowning in your own past, clinging to ruins as if they were palaces. They whisper in your ear that to let go is to admit defeat. But you and I both know the truth, don't we? The truth is, they're terrified. Terrified of what you become when you stop gripping onto a life that doesn't fit anymore. Terrified of what you'll turn into once you step beyond the ashes. You ever see what happens when a wildfire tears through a forest? The world looks at it and sees destruction, loss, the end of something that once was. But what they don't tell you is what happens after. That same scorched earth, it becomes the most fertile ground for something new, something stronger, something untainted, and that's you. You have a choice now. Sit there, stare at the smoldering remains of the life that collapsed around you, weep for what's lost, or start walking. And if you start walking, don't you dare look back. Not once. They will tell you that what you left behind mattered. That those people, those places, those things you thought were permanent were supposed to be forever. But you want to know the punchline? Nothing is forever. Not love, not hate, not pain, not even you. And that's the joke of it all, isn't it? That you spent all that time, all that energy, trying to carve a place for yourself in a world that was always going to change the moment you got comfortable. They said stability was the goal, but stability is just another way of saying stagnation. They want you still. Predictable, small. But the second you move, the second you decide you're not playing their game anymore, that's when they panic. You know what the most dangerous thing in this world is? A person with nothing to lose. And that's you now, isn't it? You already lost what they told you was so important. That job, that relationship, that dream you swore you'd never let go of. But look around you. You're still breathing, aren't you? You're still here. And that means you're free. Free in a way they will never be. Because they're still shackled to their safety nets. Still terrified of what happens if they let go. But not you. Not anymore. Starting over, they say it's like dying. That it's erasing everything you ever were and becoming someone new. But they say that like it's a bad thing. Maybe you needed to die. Maybe the version of you that played by their rules, that cared too much, that bent until they snapped you in half, maybe that version of you deserved to burn. And maybe now as you stand in the aftermath, you can finally become something real. Something that isn't shaped by their expectations, their needs, their control. They call you reckless now, don't they? Call you unhinged for walking away from the life they swore was good enough for you. They look at you with wide eyes and hushed whispers because they don't understand what kind of person walks into the unknown without hesitation. But here's the truth. They never understood you to begin with. They don't understand that staying in a life that no longer serves you is the real insanity. That clinging to a rotting foundation and hoping it won't collapse is what truly makes a person mad. Not you. No, you saw the cracks and you walked away. You saw the cage and you picked the lock, and now they can't stand it. Because if you can do it, if you can break free, then what does that say about them? About their excuses, their fears, their carefully constructed little prisons? They don't hate you for leaving. They hate you because you proved it was possible. So what now? Where do you go from here? Anywhere you damn well please. That's the beauty of it. You are no longer confined to the path they set for you. No longer forced to walk in the footsteps of the person you used to be. You can be anything now, anyone, and that's what truly terrifies them. Because when you start over, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. They will try to lure you back. You know that, right? Try to convince you that what you had before was better, that it was safe, that it was worth saving. But here's a question for you: if it was so damn great, then why did you have to leave? Why did you have to burn it down just to breathe again? No, you don't go back. Not ever. You take this clean slate and you carve something new into it. You take the lessons, the scars, the mistakes, and you mold them into armor. You move forward with the kind of confidence that makes people uneasy. Because nothing is more unsettling than someone who refuses to be defined by their past. So go on, start over, build from nothing, create something they never saw coming. And when they ask you how you did it, when they beg to know how you walked away from everything and made yourself into something more, you smile. Because they won't understand. They never could. And that, my friend, is the greatest part of all. Starting over isn't just about leaving. It's about making sure there's nothing left to return to. You don't just walk away, you erase the footprints, burn the bridges, make sure the path back is swallowed by the void. You don't want to wake up one day and feel the pull, that sick, twisted nostalgia that whispers, maybe it wasn't so bad, maybe you overreacted, maybe you should have stayed just a little longer. That's the trap. That's how they get you. You see, the past is a siren song, a poisoned lullaby, designed to keep you tethered to the familiar, even when the familiar is killing you. But you've seen too much now, haven't you? You've tasted freedom, even if it was bitter at first, even if it came with the sting of loss. And now, there's no going back. You can try, but you'll find that everything you left behind no longer fits. The people you once knew will look different, smaller somehow, their voices hollow, their concerns trivial. You'll sit in the same places you used to, surrounded by ghosts of conversations that once mattered, and realize they don't anymore. The things that used to hurt you, the things that used to feel important, will be nothing more than echoes. And you'll wonder how you ever let yourself be caged by something so small. They tell you starting over is lonely. They say the unknown is a dark place, a cold place, a place where no one waits for you. And maybe they're right. Maybe there's no warm welcome, no guiding hand, no guarantee that the new world you're stepping into will be any kinder than the one you left behind. But here's the thing, loneliness isn't the enemy. Loneliness is just silence, and silence is honest. It doesn't lie to you the way people do. It doesn't wrap its hands around your throat and call it love. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. In the quiet, you see yourself for what you truly are. No masks, no performances, no expectations, just you and the weight of your choices. And that's terrifying. Most people can't handle it. They run back to the noise, to the distractions, to the people who make them feel like they belong, even if that belonging is a lie. But you're different. You don't need the noise. You don't need the safety net. You don't need their approval. That's what they never understood about you. They thought you were like them, clinging to comfort, afraid to step off the ledge without knowing what's waiting at the bottom. But you're not afraid to fall, are you? You never were, because you know something they don't. The fall isn't the end, it's just the beginning. So keep walking, keep moving, keep carving your own path out of the ruins. It won't be easy. There will be days when the weight of it all presses down on your chest, when the silence becomes too loud, when the memories claw at the edges of your mind. There will be moments of doubt, moments where the road ahead seems too uncertain, too unforgiving. But those moments, they don't define you, they don't break you, they shape you. And one day, when you look back, you won't see regret, you won't see loss. You'll see a version of yourself that refused to stay caged, that refused to be anything less than unstoppable. And that is worth everything you left behind. Starting over isn't a moment. It isn't a single decision, a clean break, a dramatic exit followed by an instant rebirth. That's what they want you to believe. That one day you walk away and the next you wake up in a brand new life. As if transformation is something that happens overnight, but you know better. You know it doesn't work like that. It's slow, it's messy, it's waking up every day and choosing over and over again not to go back, even when it's easier, even when the ghosts are louder than the silence, even when everything in you is screaming to return to what was, just because it's familiar. That's the real battle, not the leaving, but the staying gone. 'Cause here's the truth they never tell you. You don't just start over once, you start over every single day. Every morning you open your eyes and make the choice to keep moving forward, even when you don't know where the road leads. You rebuild yourself piece by piece, decision by decision, and some days you don't feel like you're building anything at all. Some days, it feels like you're just standing in the wreckage, staring at the rubble, wondering if you made a mistake. But you didn't. You know you didn't. Because even on the worst days, the days where the weight of it all feels unbearable, you are still more free than you ever were before. And that is worth more than anything you left behind. They'll try to convince you otherwise. They'll tell you you've lost your mind, that you threw away something good, that you should have fought harder, tried more, stayed longer, that quitting is weakness, that starting over is just another way of admitting you failed. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them spin their little stories about who you are and why you left. Let them try to twist the narrative, try to paint you as reckless, unstable, selfish. They need to believe that. They need to convince themselves that you're lost, because the alternative, the truth, is something they can't face. That you were never trapped, that you never needed them, that you chose to walk away not because you were weak, but because you were stronger than they ever realized. And nothing terrifies them more than that. Because if you can do it, if you can break free, if you can leave behind the life they swore was the best you'd ever get, then what does that say about them? About their choices? About the lives they're still clinging to? The cages they've built for themselves and convinced themselves are homes? They don't hate you for leaving. They hate you because you showed them they could have left too, and they never had the courage. But you did, and now you stand on the edge of something vast, something unknown, something terrifying and exhilarating all at once. A life that is yours and yours alone, not dictated by their rules, their expectations, their limits. A life where you get to decide who you become. That's the thing about starting over, isn't it? It's not just about leaving the past behind. It's about creating something new in its place. It's about standing in the ashes of everything that once defined you and deciding with your own two hands what comes next. And that is something they will never understand. The hardest part about starting over isn't the leaving. It isn't the burning of bridges, the cutting of ties, or the destruction of everything you once clung to. No, the hardest part comes after. When the dust has settled, when the silence is no longer an event, but a constant. When you are standing in the vast, open space of your new beginning, and for the first time, there is no path beneath your feet, no footprints to follow, no voices telling you what comes next. And that's when the doubt creeps in. That's when the fear wraps its cold fingers around your throat, whispering the same old poison. What if you were wrong? What if you left something that could have been salvaged? What if you aren't meant to build something new? What if you're incapable of it? What if you don't belong anywhere? They never warn you about that part, do they? The loneliness that doesn't feel like freedom, but like an open wound. The weight of choices you can't undo. The realization that the past, no matter how far you run, still lingers in the shadows of your mind, waiting for the perfect moment to remind you that it existed. And that's when most people turn back. That's when they crawl back to the ruins, to the people who hurt them, to the familiar cages, just for the comfort of not having to face that emptiness anymore. Just for the illusion of direction, even if it leads nowhere. But not you. Because if there's one thing you've learned, it's that the past is a liar. It tells you things were better than they were, that the pain was bearable, that you could have survived in it a little longer. But you know the truth. You remember what it felt like when you were still trapped, when every day felt like dragging yourself through glass, when every breath tasted like resignation. And you refused to go back to that. You refused to let the fear of the unknown chain you to something you already know will destroy you. So you stay in the discomfort. You stay in the silence. You let yourself feel the weight of it, the uncertainty, the unfamiliarity. You don't run from it. You don't try to fill it with distractions, with people, with noise. You let it settle into your bones. You let it shape you. And slowly, so slowly, it almost goes unnoticed, you start to find pieces of yourself in it. Not the pieces they gave you, not the versions of yourself you were forced to be, but something else, something raw, something real. And that's when you realize that starting over was never about erasing yourself. It was never about becoming someone new. It was about stripping away everything that wasn't you to begin with. It was about returning to the core, to the fire that was always there, buried beneath layers of expectations and compromises and lies. It was never about finding a new path. It was about realizing you never needed one. Because you are not lost. You never were. You were just waiting for the world to stop telling you who to be so you could remember it for yourself. And now you are unstoppable. And yet, even now, even after everything, there's still that voice in the back of your head, isn't there? The one that tells you to turn around. The one that whispers, maybe you were too harsh, too impulsive, too reckless. That maybe they were right about you all along. That maybe this isn't strength, it's stubbornness. That maybe you didn't walk away because you were brave, but because you were a coward, running from something that could have been fixed if you had just been strong enough to endure it a little longer. But you know better. You know that voice isn't wisdom. It isn't logic. It isn't truth. It's just the last dying breath of the chains you broke. It's the echo of every hand that ever tried to hold you down. Every voice that ever convinced you that you were meant to stay small, meant to stay silent. It's a test. And it always comes when you least expect it, right, when you're on the edge of something real, something new, something yours. That's the moment they want you to fail. Not when you first walk away, not when you're still burning everything down. No. They expect that part. They wait for it, knowing that fire burns fast, knowing that people are addicted to destruction but terrified of the quiet that follows. That's when they start watching. That's when they start waiting. Because if they know anything about people, it's that they always come back. Not right away, of course. You're too proud for that. You need time to sit in your defiance, to convince yourself you've moved on. But eventually, the hunger for familiarity, for comfort, for anything other than the uncertainty of the unknown, it gets to you, it gnaws at you. And one day, without even realizing it, you take a step back toward the life you swore you left behind. Just to see, just to test if the door is still open. And it always is. That's what they don't tell you. Leaving is hard, but returning is easy. The moment you hesitate, the moment you start entertaining the idea, they can smell it on you. And that's when they strike. That's when they reach out with open arms and well-rehearsed words, pretending like they didn't already prepare for this moment, pretending like they weren't counting on your return from the very beginning. And maybe, just for a second, you let yourself believe it. You let yourself forget. You let yourself imagine that maybe, just maybe, things could be different this time. That they've changed. That you've changed. That somehow, against all odds, history won't repeat itself. But it always does. Because you were never the one who needed to change. The poison was never inside of you. It was in the place you left, the people you cut off, the cycle you shattered with your own two hands. And you know that if you step back into it, if you so much as breathe in the air of that world again, it will seep into your lungs and take root, just like it always did. But you won't let it, because you didn't come this far just to crawl back. You didn't tear yourself apart just to rebuild the same version of yourself they wanted you to be. You didn't sacrifice everything just to return to the same prison with a fresh coat of paint. Number. You keep walking, even when it hurts, even when the weight of your own choices feels unbearable, even when every part of you begs for the comfort of something familiar, something predictable, because comfort is a trap. It lulls you into complacency. It wraps itself around you like a warm embrace, whispering promises of peace, of ease, of home. But all it really does is soften you, dull your edges, make you forget why you ever left in the first place. And that is why you will never go back. Because you remember. You remember the weight of every compromise you ever made, every time you swallowed your voice, every second you spent convincing yourself that surviving was the same thing as living. And you refuse to live like that ever again. So you keep going, even when you don't know where you're headed, even when you don't have a plan, even when every step forward feels like walking blindfolded into the abyss. Because anythingy things better than living with a collar around your neck, waiting for permission to be who you were always meant to be. And that is why you will win. Because they will stay in their cages. They will stay in the lives they hate, with the people they resent, doing the things they swore they would never settle for. And they will convince themselves it's enough, because admitting otherwise would mean admitting that you were right. But you will keep moving. And one day, when you've built something they can't ignore, when they look up from the lives they once begged you to stay in and see what you've become, they will finally understand. They never held you. They never controlled you. They never broke you. And that realization, that will destroy them more than anything you could have ever done.